Oxygen FM 96.9 Ibadan.
Ibi ìmọ̀, ibi ìtàn, ibi ìlera. The Knowledge Hub, breathing knowledge.
Good morning, everyone, parents, teachers, students, and all lovers of knowledge. On behalf of the management and the production crew of Oxygen FM, situated at Knowledge Hub, Obafemi Awolowo Way, Okeado, Ibadan, I welcome you all to chemistry class on air. I am your teacher, Sadiq Abiola. In today's lesson, I will teach how to do practical correctly, whether it is qualitative analysis or quantitative analysis. So that means our topic for today is qualitative and quantitative analysis. But the aspect we are going to focus on is general practical skills. So therefore, bring your notebook and write boldly general practical skills. Now, what are the objectives for today's lesson? So after this lesson, by the end, you'll be able to list 6 general practical skills that are essential for you as a student to excel in your practical. And also, you'll be able to demonstrate how to rinse, read, record correctly, even without a lab. As the program is on air now, on radio, so there is no lab here. But with this lesson, we are going to discuss how you can take your readings, rinse properly, and record correctly, even without a laboratory. And also, at the end of the lesson, you'll be able to explain why these skills are essential for you to have your marks in both real and alternative to practical. So those are the objectives for today's lesson. Now let's start. For the first section, what are general practical skills? I know that by asking that questions, a lot of answer will have come to your mind regarding the question. Now, this general practical skill, it means you can handle apparatus, you can measure correctly, you can observe honestly, you can record neatly, and you can interpret correctly, and all this you do it safely. That means when you have those skills we are going to discuss, so the indicator is that you will be able to handle apparatus, you can measure correctly, you can observe honestly, you can record neatly, and you can interpret correctly, and you do all this safely. So that means that whether you are doing qualitative analysis, whereby you will be analyzing a substance to know the ions present in the substance, or you are dealing with quantitative analysis, where you will be trying to look into the concentration of a substance in a solution given. So these skills, they are very, very essential. So that means if you master the skills we are going to discuss, it means you will be able to excel in both practicals, that is qualitative and quantitative analysis. Now let's start with the skills. So the first skill, so I want you to write it boldly and number it. The first skill is safety. So safety is the first skill, and it is very, very essential. As we all know that safety is very, very important, even in our daily life. In the house, so after the electrical installation, we are going to have a lot of safety devices as well, like the fuse. Even some houses used to have fire alarms and so on and so forth. All these are for what? They are for safety purpose. Also in chemistry, as a student, there are some skills, there are some things you need to know that are for what? For safety. So the first thing that you must note is that you must never taste any chemical in the laboratory. So laboratory is different from the kitchen. In the kitchen, if you have two substances, if you have two things that are white, so you may have doubt that is this salt or sugar. So you can use your sense of taste to know whether it is salt or sugar. But in chemistry lab, so you can have many substances they will look alike. So you must not use your sense of taste to distinguish them. You have to carry out analysis. So that is the first thing about the safety. Also, you must never smell directly. So if you are doing qualitative analysis, we know that there are some aspects that they will ask you to describe the gas involved. You will tell us the odor. So it has a characteristic choking smell like the ammonia. So and some others like that. So if you want to perceive the odor, you are not to sniff in the gas. Yes. So that's why I say you must never smell directly. So there's something we call wafting. So you will do wafting. That means you will take the test tube away from yourself and you'll be using your hand to fan it. So by doing that, some particles of the gas will come into your nose and you'll be able to perceive the odor. So that is how to do that one. So it is part of the safety skills that you need to have. And also, wearing of lab coat is also important, and other safety things like the goggle and some other things, the nose mask. So they are also part of it. And also, there are some things you need to know that they are first aid. For example, now when the acid pour on your skin, what is the first thing to do? So you have to pour plenty water in order to reduce the effect of the acid. So those are part of the thing. And also you need to locate where like the fire extinguisher, the sand buckets. So where they are in your laboratory, you should be able to locate them. So these are part of the safety skills that you need to have as a student. And the skill number 2 is cleanliness and rinsing. Cleanliness and rinsing. So this cleanliness and rinsing is the secret of titration. Yes, it is the secret of titration. So that means majority of students fail because of what? Because of lack of these skills. Because of lack of this skill, which is what? Cleanliness and rinsing, especially quantitative analysis, which is acid-base titration. Now, listen carefully and write in capital letter. So now, there are some apparatus that we use. So don't forget that this class is only for we are trying to this general skills. We are trying to limited it to qualitative and quantitative analysis. We still have some other practical in chemistry, but because this class we focus on the SS3, so that's why we are limiting it to qualitative and quantitative analysis. Now in your quantitative analysis, we make use of burettes. So we make use of burette. So rinse your burette with what? With acid, because your burette will carry the acid. So you must rinse your burette with acid. So don't rinse your burette with water. So that's part of where some students, because if you rinse your burette with water, so that means on adding the acid you want to use for titration, you have added water to the acid like that. But if you rinse the burette with acid, so that means what remains in the burette is acid. That means the acid you are using for your titration, you have to rinse your burette with it. So the second rule there is that your pipette, so your pipette that you are using, that you are going to use to take your base or the solution you are working with, so you make sure that your pipette, you rinse it with the base or the solution the pipette is going to carry as well. So that is another principle there. That's another rule. And the third apparatus there is the conical flask. So the conical flask is also important, and that is where you will you will be mixing that's where you will mix the acid and the base with the indicator together. So in this one, majority of the students, they used to make mistake by rinsing the conical flask with base, because they believe that since it's the base, they will run into the conical flask before starting the titration. They will decide to rinse the base, the conical flask with the base, and that is wrong. So you have to rinse your conical flask with distilled water only. So you have to rinse your conical flask with what? With distilled water. And the next one is the test tube. So the test tube is also important, especially for the qualitative analysis. So in qualitative analysis, you will be asked to prepare your solution of your sample. Let's say our sample is sample C, for example. So after you have prepared the solution in your boiling tube, you will now be asked to divide the solution into 4 portions. So for you to divide, you make use of your test tube, and at times you may use same test tube, but make sure you rinse. If you are provided with limited test tube, that means you need to rinse after every test. So after each test, you have to rinse your test tube with what? With water, with distilled water. Make sure it is clean so as to avoid contamination. So those are the areas that some students used to fail. That's why they get inaccurate results. And note, if you rinse your conical flask with acid, yes, you are going to run your acid from the burette into the conical flask after you have added the methyl into the base inside the conical flask. Let's now assume you now decided to rinse your acid with the conical flask. That means you have added extra acid, because there is no way some acid will still remain in the conical flask. So that is why it is very, very important that you rinse your conical flask with water. So a simple common thing around us for this is, like in your house now, if you want to drink garri, so I know majority of us we used to take, because it's a fast food. So if you want to drink garri, for example, will you rinse your cup with garri? I know your answer is no. It's not possible for you to rinse the cup with garri. You will rinse with water, because there's no way you rinse with garri that some garri will not remain in the cup. So same thing goes if you are not rinsing your conical flask with water. So any other reagent you use, there's no way it will still remain in the conical flask, and it's going to affect your results. So that is that on skill number 2. So we are moving on to the next skill. That is skill number 3, and that is so we are moving on to the next skill. So we are going to have a short break now. So after the break, then we continue with the third skill. Thank you.
Oxygen FM 96.9 Ibadan.
Ibi Imo, Ibi Ito, Ibi Lira. The Knowledge Hub, breathing knowledge.
Your station, your heartbeat. Oxygen FM 96.9 Ibadan.
Welcome back. So we are still on chemistry class on air on Oxygen FM 96.9. Now let's continue from where we stopped. That's skill number 3. Now skill number 3 is handling and manipulation. So this has to do with how you hold apparatus. So how you hold apparatus matters a lot in both your quantitative and qualitative analysis. Now, in these 2 practicals, there are some apparatus that they are very, very important, and handling them properly will affect your results a lot if you don't handle them properly. So the first apparatus is the burette. So your burette, you have to clamp it. So you will hold your burette with what? With resource stand with clamp. So you have to clamp it vertically not slanting. So you need to take note of that. So you clamp your burette vertically. And also, if there is any air bubbles in the burette, you need to what? You need to tap. You tap the burette. You tap it so that the air bubbles will be removed. Or you open the tap of the burette so as to allow some acid to run through the tap. So by doing that, you are removing the air bubbles. Because if you allow the air bubbles to be there, that means your reading will be false. You are going to get a wrong reading. So the next one is the pipette. So it's the pipette. So you shock with pipette filler. So in a situation where there is no pipette filler, that means you have to use your mouth. But if you are using mouth, be very, very careful so as not to suck the base. So, and when you are measuring your pipette, feel until lower meniscus touches the mark. So there is a mark on the pipette. So you make sure that you fill the pipette until the lower meniscus of the solution touches the mark, not the upper meniscus. And also, don't blow the last drop. So the pipette has been calibrated to hold some quantity at the tip. So don't say you want to blow everything out. So because by doing that, so you are affecting, you are tampering with that means your volume will not be accurate again. And there is one thing about some students, they will try to be using the tip of the burette to touch the inside of the conical flask. So the burette is a glass, it can break. So don't disturb yourself with that. The pipette has been calibrated for that. So once you run those ones that can come out, leave the remain one there. And also your test tube. So when you are eating salt in qualitative analysis, whether your test tube or your boiling tube, you also need to pay attention to this to sound. So once you are hearing a sound like popo, sound like boo, something is we call it decrepitation. So that means you need to reduce you need to reduce the heat, because if you continue with that heat, then there is possibility that the test tube can break. So can break. So in that case, you need to or you can be hearing crackling sound. People nǹkan shaking, nǹkan fọ́ on sínú tó bá ti ń gbọ́ yẹn. So that means you need to reduce the heat. So now we move on to the fourth skill, that is measurements. So measurements, that means measurement at the eye level reading, and this has to do with with the burette and the pipette. And there is something you need to take note in this measurement. So you will see, if you want to take your measurement, make sure that you take the measurement at the lower meniscus. So now imagine that you are standing, and know that you are hearing this on air. So but imagine that you are standing in front of a burette. Then bend your neck until your eye is straight with the liquid line. So you will bend your end, you will adjust your neck until your eye is in direct contact with the liquid line, and you will be looking at the lower meniscus, not the upper meniscus. By doing that, that means you are taking an accurate measurement of whether your pipette or your burette. So welcome back. So if you want to see the illustration of the how to take the correct measurements to avoid an error called parallax error, so you can join us on Facebook, Oxygen FM 96.9 FM, or on our YouTube. We are live on YouTube as well, Oxygen FM Oxygen 96.9 FM Ibadan. So if you join us on live on YouTube or Facebook, then all this illustration you'll be seeing it live. Then the next skill is observation. So observation can simply means noticing with your senses and describing it with words or numbers. So in qualitative analysis, you describe in what? You describe in numbers in qualitative analysis. But in quantitative analysis, you describe it with what? You describe in numbers. So this observation is the art of qualitative analysis, and it's also needed in quantitative analysis to identify the end point. Now, observation is what you see, not what you think. So that is something about chemistry. So it's what you see, that's what you have to describe in word or in number. Now let's take some examples now. So in qualitative analysis, we have cations and anions, and we identify them by their color. So I will use some food colors for us to get those precipitate color right. So although in examination situation there are ways to report them, but these are just an hint for you to assimilate them better. For example, now if you added sodium hydroxide to solution of copper salts, so you are going to have a pale blue gelatinous precipitate, like a pale blue. So that pale blue is like blue pap, as those that are with us on YouTube, you can see it on your screen. So it's like a blue pap. So that's what in WAEC we report it as pale blue gelatinous precipitate. So if a student now said, instead of writing that pale blue gelatinous precipitate under the observation, if a student now say, since I know what will give me the pale blue, the student now writes it is copper salt under observation, that means you are wrong, because observation is what you see, while the inference is what you deduce from your observation. So also, like we have the ion 2-ayon, so which has a dirty green precipitate. So that one looks like your old vegetable soup. So what's it called? Efo. It used to be very green. So after some time we turn into brown. So that is the color of your dirty green precipitate. Then also we have the ion 3, which has what? A Lipton tea, like it look like a Lipton tea, the brown color. So like the color of your Lipton tea. So that's how the precipitate of that one look like. So also we have some ions that give us a white precipitate. So like aluminum ion and zinc ion and lead ion. But the aluminum ion and zinc ion give white gelatinous precipitate. So that look like your echo, the echo you eat at home. So the way it look like, so that is how that one look like. And also we have the lead 2-ayon. So that one is also white gelatinous, but it look like a dry gari. So or like the dust, the chalk dust. So that's how that precipitate look like. So all these, they are just an example. So in our subsequent lessons or class, so we are going to go into details on qualitative as well as the quantitative analysis, but all these, they are just an example of what observation look like. And for the quantitative analysis, so we use the observation to notice the end point. So we are going to have a short break. So after the break, we are going to continue. So welcome back. Now for the quantitative analysis, we use the observation, the skill, to identify the color at endpoints. Like the methyl orange is yellow in base, pink in acid, and at endpoint it is orange. Phenolphthalein is pink in base, colorless in acid, and at endpoint it is colorless. So all these, they are what? They are observations. So if you don't have the skill of how to observe correctly, then you will not get those things. And if you don't get a correct color at the end point, that means you are going to have a wrong readings. So the next skills we are moving on to is recording, calculation, and accuracy. So after observing, you must record immediately in table. Don't trust memory. So recording is very, very important. So I said in observation is that you see something, you describe it in word or in numbers. So if it is qualitative analysis, the table is, you are going to have your serial number, test, observation, and inference. So that means the first thing to do before you start your analysis is to draw your table. So, and you record directly into the table, your observation, and whatever you deduce from your observation will be your inference. So take note of that. And the next one is the table for quantitative analysis. So for the quantitative analysis, we have bullet reading, your rough title, first and second. So all those tables, you form it, and final initial volume of acid use. Make sure those ones, they also have their own unit, which is centimeter cube. And also there are some rules in that table. If you look the table, we have our theta values in 2 decimal places, so it's very, very important. And the values to use for our average theta should be concordant. That means they should be within the range of 0.20 centimeter cube. So also equation is very, very important, especially in quantitative analysis. So we need to write a balanced equation for the acid and base that are reacting together. So now all these things, how we can see that all these skills we have discussed so far, they are very, very essential for both our qualitative and quantitative analysis. And it is from those skills that we deduce most of the the precautions. So once you have those skills, that means you are taking precautions necessary for both qualitative and quantitative analysis. Like, for example, now in instructions expected from students in WAEC, according to WAEC scheme, like rinse the burette with a solution of your acid. We have discussed that, and many more like that as well. So also for the quantitative analysis, you are to hold your test tube with a test tube holder away from your face and other when eating or adding acid. So this is also part of what we have discussed under safety. So that means these skills, they are also essential for you to be able to know to take a proper precautions when you are carrying out qualitative and quantitative analysis. So in summary, so today let's take a quick recap of what we have discussed today. So we have discussed about 6 skills that are essential for your qualitative and quantitative analysis, and we have talked about safety, that is no tasting, but if you want to smell a gas, you do what we call wafting, and I've told you the meaning of wafting. And also we talk about rinsing of burette pipette with base, rinsing of burette with acid, pipette with base, and conical flask with water only. We also talk about how to handle the apparatus and manipulate it accurately. That is, one of it is to remove air bubbles from your burette and you clamp it vertically to avoid parallax error. And also we talk about measurements, that you take your measurement at eye level reading. So you take at the lower meniscus, eye level, and you do this to avoid parallax error. And also we talk about observation, that is what you see first, not what you think, and we use food colors as an example. So also we talk about recording table. You form your table immediately, then you calculate your average theta values with concordant value. So those are part of what we have discussed for today. So we are going to have a short break. So after the break, we continue. So welcome back. So we are still on the program. So now it is time for you to call in. So I will read out the studio number now. So you can ask your question as well. And if you are ready to answer my questions, I have like 8 questions here to test your understanding about the lesson we just discussed now. So the number is 070 47 00 3969. 070 47 00 3969. The second number is 070 47 00 2969. 070 47 00 2969.
Your station, your heartbeat. Oxygen FM 96.9 Ibadan.
Don't forget, if you call in, you have to tell us your name and where you are calling from. So now we have some, like I said, that the precautions. So let's continue with the precautions. Like in your quantitative analysis, so part of the precautions is that place the conical flags on a white surface. So white surface. So that means if you have a white tie or a filter paper, so you can use filter paper if white tie is not available. And also, part of the precaution you need to make sure you try to follow is use 2 or 3 drops of indicator. So 2 or 3 drops, and for this you need to be consistent. So if you start with 2 drops, that means you need to use 2 drops all through. So if you start with 3 drops, that means you have to use 3 drops all through. So because this will also affect your result if you are not using the same drops. So we are still expecting your call. So you are still expecting your call. So you can call the studio number to answer my question or to ask for your own, or to ask your question as well. So and the number is 070 47 00 3969. The second number is 070 47 00 2969.
Oxygen FM 96.9 Ibadan.
Ibi Imo, Ibi Ito, Ibi Lira. The Knowledge Hub, breathing knowledge.
We are going to round up now. So now by next lesson, so that means we are going to enter into the titration, so chemistry practical titration in details, and also after that we move on to the qualitative analysis. So I still remain your, so that is for next week. So we are still expecting your call. So if you have question or you are ready to answer question, so you can still call in. Hello. Good morning.
Afternoon, ma.
Good afternoon. Your name and where you are calling from?
Okay, this is Mr. Tunde calling from bus stop.
Mr. Tunde?
Yes, from bus stop, close to gate.
Okay, from bus stop.
Please, I'm not the person doing it. We have children that are interested. So I want to ask, this program, can we watch it on YouTube or Facebook, or do you have how we can watch the edition? You know, it's like lessons now.
Yes, you can actually do that. We have even called out our Facebook page. It's Oxygen.
Okay, I'm just listening to the program now, so
okay,
maybe you just give us after I drop the call.
Okay, for you to watch us live you can watch us live on Facebook, Oxygen FM 96.9, Oxygen 96.9 FM, and also on YouTube. We are live on YouTube as well, Oxygen 96.9 FM Ibadan. So also on TikTok and Instagram as well. So all these you can watch us live on it. So with this we are going to round up. So I still remain your teacher, Mr. Abiola Sodiq. So as we are preparing for our next lesson next week, keep your burette bubble free and your table neat. Bye for now.